The first example I'm going to go through is showing how the taxes work on an ISO plan. And what is an ISO plan? It is an incentive stock option plan. And what will happen is someone will come in and say, you know what, I sold these shares. I used it because I was going to do a remodel in the house or something that took a decent size of money. And that's what I was saving it for. But after the shares are sold and you use the money for it, there's not much you can do at the time of taxes. So let's look back on how ISUs work and how we can plan around it. So how they work. First off, you get the right to buy a stock at the time that the shares were issued to you. So the company will give you that stock option benefit. And let's just say at the time that they were given to you, they were $50 a share. Now there would be a vesting period after that, which then you can then at some point exercise the shares. So say it's now been 5 years and that $50 turns into $150 a share. How do you get paid? Well, you actually then get the opportunity to buy them for $50, but you get the value of $150. So what you get essentially is $100,000 of profit directly into your pocket. Now I'm gonna run down some examples on what not to do and what to do, but let's use the case that you have 1,000 shares. So now we're looking at $50,000 and $150,000. Okay, so it's now time to get the money, and then you end up having to pay $50,000 for $150,000. Now what I see is very common is through the brokerage that your employee stock options are through, there's a lending system that allows you to that year take and give you the $50,000 so you can get access at that $150,000. But what happens when you do that, it turns into a short-term capital gain because you bought 1,000 shares and then you sold 1,000 shares to cover the brokerage, and that all happened in 1 year. That's a short-term capital gain. And if you have a short-term capital gain and selling and using the same year, you could be at a 32% federal bracket versus maybe a long-term capital gain of 15%. That's not uncommon at all. And those are pretty common tax brackets for people that have ISO plans. So everyone might be a little bit different, but the short-term capital gain can be substantial. So we want to plan around that because that would be a federal tax loss of maybe $17,000. Now in my example, which very commonly people do, they're using the brokerage. What you want to do is look a year earlier and say, all right, I need to come up with $50,000 because I need to buy these 1,000 shares right now for a $50,000, but I got to hold them for 1 year. And that's where the planning comes in. It's like, how am I going to come up with the $50,000 without having to sell it, hold it for 1 year, and then at that time I can use the money for the house. But this is not uncommon. Anytime you're owning stock, you want to plan around the taxes, like how do I get it to a long-term capital gain versus a short-term capital gain?